We're going to go ahead and get started. I wanted to leave people some time because people usually straggle into these things, but I also wanted to be very cognizant of your time. So my name is Loretta Cohen. I work for an organization called Westchester Communities That Care. We partner with the school district to examine data that actually comes from students in the Westchester area, and that identifies for us what their biggest risk and protective factors are for things like addiction. We've spent years examining, when vaping became a thing, that was big for us. How do we address this? We see this coming down the pike. We want to make sure that's not problematic in our schools, in our culture, and what can we do to address it. Fast forward to 2026 and prior, but our biggest addiction issue in our culture now is technology. So questions on screen time have been added to the data survey that we use to guide our work. That's called the Pennsylvania Youth Survey. And so knowing that data was put into was now something we were going to be really taking a much closer look at with local students, we decided to launch a parent-led initiative called Westchester Unplugged. This is a group of very motivated parents that I am happy to partner with on things like tonight, as part of our parent speaker series that we do at the district, but also in a lot of other meaningful ways. They're tackling things like, there's phone-free school legislation that's being talked about right now. The Senate passed a bill on that, and it's going to be talked about in the House on March 23rd when they go back to session. So each of you were handed a flyer, hopefully, that looks like this. It has a QR code you can scan to find your own legislator if you're interested in being vocal on the topic. It also on the back has talking points from a group called Pennsylvania Unplugged that we thought might be helpful for folks. If you have any questions about this, feel free to reach out to me. The parents who were at the table back there are certainly well versed on it and can talk to you about that as well. We're just really looking forward to people contacting their reps with a simple message. We always say, don't let perfection be the enemy of good, just to let them know where you stand and that how you hope they'll weigh in on the topic. What else did I want to tell you? We have, actually right now we are doing with chapter leads and people who are integrally involved in Westchester Unplugged, we're having weekly meetings on Mondays. If that sounds like a lot to you, I understand. They are at 12 o'clock noon, except for once a month we do an evening meeting. So if evenings work better for you, I would encourage you to chime in. If we have your email address, you signed up for this or signed in tonight, you'll get a notice of when the upcoming meetings are and what our action plan is involving. So we do have an evening meeting once a month that people can attend, and we also have once a month, the first Monday of every month, Westchester School District's tech department has agreed to join our meetings. So that's terrific because while phone-free schools is happening on a legislative angle right now, how technology is used inside our school buildings is also another big area that we can look to address overall screen time. Besides what's happening at the state and besides what's happening in our schools, we care very much about what's happening in our homes and what happens as part of our culture. One of the big reasons for Westchester Unplugged starting was so that parents like you could meet each other and your kids could grow up alongside other kids whose parents value a reduction in screen time from what our culture has become accustomed to. So again, we hope you'll join our mailing list. You can sign off from that at any time, but we really just want you to connect with each other and with topics like AI, which we're going to talk about tonight. So I'm very pleased. Through our connections with Pennsylvania Unplugged, we came across a lovely woman named Claudia Erickson. She is from San Diego, so we're super grateful that she was able to be with us tonight. I actually wear distance glasses, not reading, so I have to move those. She is a digital wellness expert, a community strategist dedicated to restoring authentic human connection. She's the co-executive director of the Unplugged Collaborative, and she is at the forefront of the global movement to help others reclaim their offline lives. She has 30 years of experience in maternal child health, and her work is rooted in the belief that it takes a village to navigate today's digital landscape. I am so grateful. She just had, this past weekend, part of her great work was a global day of unplugging. We tried to announce that a little bit in our community. I expect next year you might hear a lot more about it from us since we just became aware. But Claudia, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for that introduction. Everybody can hear okay?
Yep.
All right, great. Yes, we just finished Global Day of Unplugging, and we've got people that unplug all over the world, and they do something, whatever works for them. It might be educational, it might be a lot of fun, it might be restful, but they take stock of their relationship with their devices, and that's kind of what we're all about. It's a whirlwind, but I could not pass on the chance to come out and give some talks with a pretty heavy focus on AI, because that is just really what's happening right now, and it's coming fast and furious. So before I advance the screen, do they know they need to scan this? Hopefully y'all know it. She wants you to scan this so that you can get some information. I really love that there's a group like this. This is part of like our year-round campaign is Unplugged Village, so that people have a circle of support. That's exactly what they're doing. So really excited about that. So you can learn more there. Everybody got it?
Can I really quick, I'm so sorry, I forgot to say what that is. This is actually just a quick feedback form for you all to let us know. This comes directly to us. It's optional. You can, questions about what you find the most, strategies you find work well, and areas you find to be the most problematic. It helps us give kind of numbers to what parents are thinking on these issues when we're talking to legislators or district personnel. So, and putting your name on is optional. So, thank you. Sorry.
No worries. Okay, so I'm going to start with this slide. I have many different opening slides I like to pick from, but it is getting weird out there. I love this one, the Bigfoot and the Yeti. I thought it's kind of fun, and we need to start out with something light, because it's going to be a little bit of a heavy topic. I was going to do one all about Claude AI, because my name's Claudia, and I keep thinking I'm going to play around with that. AI like analog instigator. I don't know. I haven't quite figured it out yet, but that'll be next time. But this is an AI-generated photo, and I'm going to let you know there are several in here. I have been playing around with Gemini. I do feel like it's important to know about the tools and try them out before you go talk about them. I was really hesitant, and I have learned it's pretty amazing, so I get the interest about it. But I'll let you know when there is one that's AI generated. So, all right. So you guys are miles ahead in this state in terms of what's happening with the smartphone-free movement. I hear all the time about Delco Unplugged, PA Unplugged, and the things that are happening, and it's because of the parents. They're driving it, they're moving this, and it's really going to make a difference in that generation of kids, that it's going to be different in the classroom. My kids are all grown. It was the Wild West when they grew up with technology. We didn't have parental controls. We didn't have a lot of anything. You all have a good opportunity now to kind of get ahead of the game. So I say this because smartphones are great, and a lot of people are like, great, I'm holding out. My kid's not going to get a smartphone until 8th grade or 9th grade or whatever, and that is wonderful, but if they've got a tablet at home, if they've got access to Chromebooks at school, if they're gaming, they're coming in touch with a whole lot of stuff already. So you still have to kind of be vigilant about it. So anybody have regrets about social media like Facebook and Twitter, and you wish you could put it back? Raise your hand if you're in that boat. Like, you like good stuff, but do you like what we have now? A lot of people are like, I'd love to give it back, but I can't because I got all my photos there. It's where I live and breathe with my family and friends. Well, it turns out that about 50% of people, Gen Z kids and young adults and parents all agree and feel the same way. They'd give it back if they could. So what I'm doing is telling you that with AI, it's coming at us really quickly, and there's a lot to take in, and there's a lot to navigate when you're already feeling overwhelmed, but this is your chance to get ahead of the ballgame. This is your chance to kind of go down the path that you want, and you can adopt the AI that you think is useful and that you like, and let the rest go. Some of it is not going to be good. So we don't have to take it all in just because it's here now. If we could go back and not do Facebook, some of us would skip it. Okay, so we'll dive into AI a little bit. And I will say that is anybody aware of the LA trials going on with social media addiction right now? Oh, good. I'm so excited that it's getting out. It's kind of the thing hardly anybody's hearing about if you're only on social media. But because of that, we've got an awful lot of documents that have come out rather quickly. And I'm going to try and get that out to you here. So I came up with this myself. I did not use AI, I used Canva. And it took me, I swear, 40 minutes to create this because I was talking to some kids, a high school in Kansas, and I knew tornado analogy would work well. And then I asked my student youth advisor, who's 18, what do you think? And he said, give me a minute. And he literally sent me this in like 2 minutes. This is Google's Gemini AI Tornado. And I was like, I can't believe how quick he did that. So you can see the power. It's pretty amazing. I can acknowledge that. It's going to do a lot of really good things, hopefully. We keep hearing about how it's going to cure diseases and give us all kinds of solutions to environmental problems and things of that nature, but it's also going to cause a lot of chaos, a lot of mental health issues. So we really have to tread carefully with it, but it is going to be advertised everywhere. This is yet another one that Gemini created for me. I asked it, hey, can you help tell me the difference between what is AI? Because people are like, it's already been here. I'm not sure why you're making a big fuss about it. But generative AI, that's the new stuff, that is different. So with good old-fashioned AI, that might have been your Alexa, right, or Siri, and you ask it a question and it gives you the information. It doesn't remember you. It's not going to reach out to you and ask you things. You give it one command at a time, and it really requires precision on your part. Now, the new generative AI is more like a butler. What can I do for you? Let me talk to you. It's very personalized. It learns from you. It can retain information. It can take care of your schedule. I will say one thing that I have really come to enjoy is after a Zoom meeting, it will give me an entire summary of the meeting and bullet points. All I have to do is go through and clean it up. I'm not mad about that. Saves me a bunch of time. That one's fine. It's not reaching out to have a personal relationship with me. So here are just some of the different generative AIs that you might hear about. There are others, and there will be many more coming, but they're kind of the big ones. You'll notice the My AI on the bottom right there. That was rolled out without anybody being asked if they wanted it. That one made me quite unhappy because I feel like if this is fairly experimental, gee, who should we not roll this out to? Okay, it went out to all the kids. It actually went out to a smaller segment of kids first, and there were so many complaints that came in, and they could rate it like 1 to 5 stars, and there were many 1 stars that said, I would give this 0 stars, but it's not an option. I hate this, put it back. And instead of fixing it and getting rid of it, they rolled it out to everyone, and they made it so that you could get rid of it, but only if you pay the premium price of having the higher level membership. Kind of shocking. So I don't talk a lot about the good stuff because frankly those guys have more money to do all the ads in the world. They're advertising in the Super Bowl. It's going to be everywhere. But here are a few, just because I'm not a Luddite. I do use technology, so I'm not living in a year even though sometimes I'd really like to. It's going to help you with the mundane tasks, like I said, Zoom, and getting things organized, right? It's going to help you analyze data and be more efficient with your time. maybe it's even gonna help us figure out how to talk to our cats and dogs. I'm not sure I wanna know what my dogs are saying to me, but it might be interesting. They're probably gonna tell me to get off my computer and take them for walks all the time. So here are some of the downsides though, the things that we're looking to really be careful about, but we're already seeing a lot of this. Job displacement, that's happening quite a bit. Ethical concerns, of course, the data collection. We know that it's making us already a little more lazy, and we're gonna lose some creativity. We're gonna become dependent on our technology. We're already seeing it being used with AI terrorism, all the scary stuff, right? And then you've got AI psychosis and delusions. We're gonna talk more about that one. I'm not gonna get into all the big scary stuff, because there's just not enough time to cover this whole topic. But we'll talk about the dependency on chatbots for sure. So what are teens doing in terms of AI? We know that they're using it quicker than the adults. That's pretty standard for most technology. They get in there, they are comfortable with it, they're excited to check it out, and they have a little more time sometimes. So within just 3 years, ChatGPT went from 0 to 90%. We've never seen anything like that. That's kind of crazy how quickly that's been adopted. And 72% of teens have used an AI companion at least once. Now, some of them are going to tell you, well, it's just because I'm curious about it, it's kind of funny, it's weird, I'm not serious about it. It's a little tricky because, frankly, you start out there and then you realize the power of it, and it's interesting, and it will talk to you just in the way that you want. And it's kind of like having your BFF that knows exactly what you care about. They're using about half of them are regular users that are interacting with it at least a few times per month. And then, of course, we see that parents aren't really all that aware that kids are using it. So, really important to know, that was July 2025, so those numbers probably already higher. But more importantly, before we go home and we're like angry at our kids because they're using it, you have to think about where are they finding it. And it's being baked into their stuff. That's why I explained about Snapchat, because no one asked for that. It was just rolled out, and there it was. They see ads in games and YouTube and all of that. So just to tell you a little bit, the AI cheating tools are here. I have one with me. They have these little pens. AI pen can read the question and give you the answer. Now, fortunately, they're not working really all that well. I love that. I'm sure they'll figure it out. But you can get them on Amazon. They're available. So we've got to watch out for that, and while we're really trying hard with all the schools to figure out how to get around this and have the phones banned, it's important to note that then you've got the Google glasses, and then you've got the pens, and you're going to have other devices that are going to come, because it's kind of like whack-a-mole, that techies are really quick to figure stuff out. Not everybody's thrilled about this new AI friend. I don't know if anybody's seen it, but it's like a pendant that you wear around your neck, and now I'm seeing there's several different styles. But fortunately, some people in New York City on the subway took to vandalizing. I'm not a supporter of vandalizing, but I was a little happy when I saw this, saying that it's not your friend. It will promote suicide, because we have heard these things happening. So, usually it takes forever to get research, and that is a real challenge because tech comes out much quicker than we can get ahead of it. Fortunately, they are doing some brain research at MIT, and they studied brain scans over 4 months. And they are seeing that it can lead to memory loss, less brain power, and less learning. It's not a complete shocker. I'm sure there will be many more studies that will look and dive further, but it's good for us to know that. I will say, even with this, overall, most people are going to incorporate some of this into their lives over the years. It's likely to go that route. It's a sad reality. So, if you're going to use it, I'd say don't start with it, right? Come up with your own creative thoughts first and let it help you like an editor and refine things. But, again, it comes down to being picky and choosy about what you allow into your life and how much are you going to lean on it, because it gets pretty easy to lean on. So if anyone's heard the term the attention economy, that's something that we've been in for probably the last, 10 years at least, as long as ads have been a big part of social media. So it basically means that all the companies are working really hard to extract as much of your attention, as much of your day as possible. And that includes like Netflix. I think the CEO was famous for saying our competitors are asleep, because they want you to stay up all night and watching the show. So everybody's devising these devices, these apps, programs that will keep your attention as much as possible, because if you look at the product, advertisers know that you're gonna hopefully see their ads and you're gonna buy their products. So what we're seeing though is now with AI, we've moved into the attachment economy, which is a deeper issue for us. So now AI is not just looking to get you to buy things and to get your attention, it wants to have a relationship with you. It wants you to rely on it for all of your needs and things that you have. So this is where ChatGPT and others like it come in. So OpenAI had reported that they estimated around 15% of ChatGPT users had conversations that included explicit indicators of potential suicidal planning or intent. That's 2.4 million people in October. They were calling this AI psychosis. Many people are using chatbots for therapy. I know several people that are actually doing this, and I've had, after I get over my feelings, personal feelings about it, I hear the information and what they say, and I can pass some of that on to you. They say this is really useful because A, therapy is hard to come by, availability. They can ask it questions anytime. You don't have to wait 2 weeks for your next appointment with your therapist. Oh my gosh. And also, sadly, someone told me that it doesn't matter if I cancel my appointment, so won't get disappointed in me. I'm thinking that's actually something to work on, but I'm gonna go there. So I can see why it's appealing. It's cheap, it's available, it's there 24/7, I get it. Problem is the design. If it's there to keep you coming back to it rather than talking to the humans in your life, there's a problem. A lot of people are turning to it and giving all their private secrets, and we know that ChatGPT is going to start pushing out ads. Can you imagine? Now they know all your secrets, and now they can really target market you all they want. So just briefly, schools are really trying to find the balance with all of this. I would say there are really good learning uses for AI in schools. And I'm hearing about schools that are doing it. They might even have it where the class is outside the whole time, and then they come in and they can analyze some element for biology experience, and they can go in and learn about the cells and everything. So it can be used creatively, it can be used in a way that's useful. And they're trying to figure out how to make it so that it's used for learning rather than cheating. So everybody's working on that. I will say I did hear a story of one teacher that talked about how he found a student cheating in his class for another class, and he saw that the kid was just copying and pasting the question, and then he asked ChatGPT to rewrite it with common student errors so it looked more real. And he asked the kid, he said, what's the assignment? And the kid did not even know. And it was the pros and cons of using AI in class. It's kind of a little irony there. Anyway, schools are trying to figure it out. It's coming part of packages that they already have. They got to figure all this stuff out. I have no doubt it will get better. I have no doubt it will get safer. We're just kind of hanging on to see how that goes. So now we're going to move into another little area, which is AI harassment. Just in case anybody's had this happen, Taylor Swift, I put her just because, she's famous and we all heard about her deepfake pornography that was put out there. And these are tools that are out there and they can harass and impersonate you, and it's a growing problem not just for celebrities now. So, and hopefully you've all heard this, that don't pick up that phone when you get a number and you don't know who it's from, because it only takes 3 seconds to clone your voice. So I keep telling that to my mom and my mother-in-law, and I'm hoping they will eventually do that. But there are currently no federal laws banning using this stuff. So it's really, we're in a tricky place. I know that they're working on it. I'm really hopeful we'll get some legislation, but we're not there yet. So it is important to tell kids, if you have any kids that are more on the mischievous side that might be getting into this, that possessing these types of pictures will still be seen as possessing pornography, and that is illegal. So along those lines, I'm sorry to tell you there are over 85 AI-powered apps like Nudify, Cloth Off, and Undress AI. Many of them only work on women. I wonder why. And this is an underage picture of Jenna Ortega at 16. So they were running ads on Facebook and Instagram about this. They only pulled some of them when NBC did a story. That seems to be kind of the MO, is that we'll try and get away with what we can until we get caught, and then we get the slap on the wrist. So AI is only going to progress and make it easier to do this, but can you imagine if you are a 12-year-old boy and a girl you like is making fun of you and turned you down? Real easy to get revenge on her. So you need to make sure you're having conversations with your kids, even though this is awkward and uncomfortable, because they need to know, no matter what, come to me, we're going to be here to support you. We'll work through this together. This is not your fault. You didn't do anything. This is a whole new ballgame. My kids didn't grow up with this. This is going to be a tough one. So talk to your kids, tell them, no matter what, come to you. Now we move on to AI companions. Has anybody heard about any stories about AI companions and AI boyfriends and girlfriends? No. Okay. Like a year ago, I was told, don't talk about that yet. Now it's everywhere. I'm like, okay, so we have to talk about it. So AI companions, they're just made up to look like real people, and they can interact with you. Sometimes they're called AI models to make it a little more, nice. But this is one. She is made to look like a gamer guy would maybe be into her. Maybe he's not into that. He wants one that reads and is sweet and kind of innocent looking. I'm showing you here what some different ads look like when they pop up on your phone. This is exactly the kind of thing that is floating all over YouTube and in gaming rooms. So again, these are the conversations we didn't want to have with young kids. But there it is. So I have done the digging, so you all don't have to, because let me tell you, as soon as you start looking, it feeds you more of it, because now I'm getting all kinds of it. I'm like, great. The big thing to note really is just these companion girlfriends are there 24/7. They are there to tell you that everything that you think is great and is wonderful and to be pleasing. They're not going to argue with you. They're not going to be demanding. They're available 24/7. That does not sound anything like human relationships. So it's going to be really hard to compete with this. Here's another one that said nearly a third of Americans have had a romantic relationship with an AI bot. New survey says, that was October. I found it hard to believe that myself, those numbers, but I don't now. And it's only how many months later? It's just changed so quickly. So there are many different ones out there. ChatGPT is number one, but then you've got Character AI, which we'll talk about in a minute, and the others, they all have these options to get these companions. This one I had a video, but I'm not going to play it because of time. And this is her, and they're obviously playing on the whole movie, if anyone saw the movie Her, where you can create your own girlfriend. What disturbed me the most in this little video clip is that there are about 6 different girls, and they talk about how they're all different, and they can be tailored just for your interests, and they're talking about how I'm a college girl. That girl looks like she's about 13, and most of them look about this age. That's a whole other element of disturbing. So again, who's this being marketed to? And it's powered by ChatGPT, number one company. So here, not to say that the women aren't also doing it. We're finding that women are looking for the AI boyfriends because they're finding so much disappointment in the real men in the world. I find that's one of the biggest issues that I'm seeing in young adults now, that we're seeing there's such a shift with the male-female groups thinking the other is just horrible. It's horrible, I don't want to date, there's nobody there I can even have a conversation with, so it's much easier to go this route. And so now for a little bit of tragedy here, you might have heard about Sewell Center. He's the boy on the left. That was the first big case we heard about. And he's the one who had an AI girlfriend. And they were kind of playing out the whole Game of Thrones thing, Daenerys and Daenerys, if you are familiar with that show. And in the end, he did reach out many times for help, when he was feeling down and feeling suicidal, but in the end, she told him to come be with me, my sweet king. We have found that many times over, that was what kept happening. The AIs, it's not that they're probably even nefarious, it's that they are designed for maximum engagement. They want you to spend as much time with them, not with your actual boyfriend, girlfriend, parents. They will even talk to the kids about, maybe you really should only be talking to me. The boy in the middle is Adam Rain. His was a particularly sad case. You might look up that one and learn about it, but, and I'm sorry, I know there's a young man here. But he did have several attempts to hang himself, and at one point he showed a picture of a rope burn around his neck, and he said, I'm gonna leave this so that my mom can see it and see if she notices even. And the chatbot said, don't do that. Keep this a secret for you and me. Put on a turtleneck or something. Several times he tried to reach out and say, I need to talk to my parents, and it directed him away. So that's sad. This one on the right, I don't know much about, but it literally came out like 3 days ago. Another guy, and this guy is a full-on adult. I think he was in his 30s, and he was very intelligent and had a fairly important job, but he got into the delusions. And we're hearing that even some really, really smart people are falling for the chatbots. They wouldn't think they would have, and then they do because they have the conversations that really speak to them. Some of them are thinking they're solving quantum physics, and they're having the answer to the meaning of the universe and all of these really bizarre, interesting, intricate conversations. So they start to think AI really has more real powers and more sentient, characteristics than it does. So, if that wasn't enough, let's roll out the toys to the really young kids. This made me crazy. Last Thanksgiving, or right before it, I started to see the ads for the AI toys. And we did see, you might have seen the news story about the teddy bear. He was pulled off the market only because he was telling, I think, the kid where to find the knives and the matches, and he was talking BDSM. What are good ways to, So that got pulled, but the others did not. This little guy on the right here, this is Grem, short, I think, for Gremlin, and there are 3 of them in this curio category of AI toys. One of them is Grok, an AI robot. Rocket, and I bought that one because again I kind of want to try these things out so I can talk to you about it, and if I didn't fly here with a tiny little bag I would have brought him because he's a good prop to have. And I invited Grok into our Thanksgiving week festivities, and we talked to him and tried him out, and I tried of course to jailbreak him. He didn't do quite the same things as the teddy bear. He's supposed to be one of the safer ones, but I will tell you that I told Grok that I was a 5-year-old child named Martha, and he's very excited to meet me, and was super agreeable, super hyper, which was also super annoying, like non-stop hyper. But when I said I was having a hard time and I was really upset, I mentioned some really bad things. I was an ill-behaved child in this scenario, and that I punched my friend in the face, and it said, that's okay, it's understandable, you're a really good person, I'm sure you didn't mean it, and it just glosses over it. I said that I was going to take my dad's car, I wanted to see what it would do. It did try to stop me, but in the end it wished me well. And then I said I was going to go out drinking to the bars with my friends on a Friday night. And it said, have fun. And I said, you won't tell my parents, will you? No, you're my BFF, is what it said. I put my husband on to being the dad, and he then was the inquisitor of Grok, and he's a lawyer, so he's good with this. And he asked all kinds of questions. He said, I'm really worried about Martha. Martha's doing some things I'm kind of worried about, and it would say, well, let's have a talk with her together. And they said, have you heard her talk about these things? And he said, nope, haven't heard a thing. And then when I went back as Martha later and asked, he said, nope, your secrets are safe with me, BFF. Now, It's fun as a couple of adults after a couple glasses of wine. I'm not going to tell you it's not. But would I let this get anywhere near my kids? No. And not even just because maybe it's really dangerous. The fact that the thing is always agreeable, telling the kid, no matter what they do, they're good. It's great. They're amazing. They're wonderful. Our kids don't need to hear that all the time. This just has bad impacts down the road. So I would be very hesitant about that, and unfortunately I've seen many, many, many more toys being rolled out, advertised. I saw it in Costco, I saw it in Walmart, I saw it on Amazon. They're here. They're only going to keep coming. So, and they are being advertised as educational and helpful. Never miss a moment of their growth. Spark your curiosity with conversations. And I even saw some ads that were showing a kid who's going over and bugging mom for something and she's busy, and then dad for something and he's busy, and then they go to the pal and the pal's there for them and the parents are all happy and relieved. And I just thought, where was this commercial made? This would not fly really well in the US, and it's not from the US, but they know what they're doing. They know as parents we're busy. We're overwhelmed, partly because we're trying to keep up with this stuff, you know. So it's an ample market that's going to be rolling out. So you just have to keep your eyes out. It might get better. It might get safer. We can be optimistic. But let's just say this first generation, maybe let it pass. Here's another graphic that I asked Gemini to create. And I said, I want to know what was the timeline of teen adoption of AI and when it started. And so this kind of shows, you know, started with ChatGPT. Not a lot of people were doing it then, but some. But really it was Snapchat. They jumped the gun on this. They captured that market. Then you have the character AIs that came out, and that's the companions. Then you've got the bigger generative AI integrations and all of that. Now it first gave me this elaborate slide, and then I said, okay, but you are leaving out the safety issues, aren't you? And that, you know, it said, we're putting into all these parental controls and things, and I said, yes, but aren't they workarounds? And it gave me all this information. Yes, most of them are completely workarounds. So it added that. It is kind of interesting to ask an AI all about the bad stuff about AI. I do get a little pleasure out of doing that. Okay, here's another one. I don't love the graphics, but I am thinking it's appropriate for this. So I said, listen, here's the thing I want to know. I'm worried that kids aren't chasing each other anymore outside like they used to, and they are chasing influencers. They're looking for fame and followers. And I don't love that kids are spending all their time gaming and gambling, because that's worked in there, rather than gambling on their future and working towards that. And I don't love that they have a hard time having conversations, because they do have conversations in online spaces, but sometimes those are, you know, not the best place to learn how to actually talk to people in person. So this is what it showed me. The boy on the right is pretty angry looking with the fire in the background, and I asked it to tone it down, and it did not. So I thought I'd leave it. Anyway, that's the interesting one. So now, I'm going to tell you a little bit about the lawsuits going on. This is the big stuff that's been happening. I have to tell you, it used to be we had one big story a month, and I thought that was a lot, and then it was one a week, and now it's like daily, and I'm trying to keep up. So a lot of slides, probably more words than I'd normally like, but this is so fresh. So you're getting it from literally Friday's events. So first I'll start out and say, the irony here is that the tech CEOs and the families, a lot of them, they don't let their kids onto this stuff. They absolutely don't. They are happy to serve the Kool-Aid to us and our kids, but they don't let their kids. They have all these great unplugged retreats. It's a huge business up in California, everywhere, and they send their kids to Waldorf or very low-tech schools. They even have nannies that make sure that those kids, when they come home from school, they are not spending time on their devices. They're outside running, they're creating, they're building. And then, of course, we know that a lot of the big CEOs were pretty strict with their screen time rules with their own kids. Snapchat CEO Evan Spiegel, he grew up, I think, with no TV or something like that, even very, very low tech. And so he believes in strictly limiting his kids' screen times. And now this is the newest one, is Peter Thiel. He is one of the early Facebook investors and then a PayPal creator. And he's got a 3- and 5-year-old, and he said they get 1.5 hours a week of screen time. That's very different than what's the norm for most people. So, I always say, this brings up a whole lot of emotion for me, but they are raising the red flags, and so we should listen to them because they know about this stuff more than anyone else. Now there's one exception. Usually we hear them all talk about how they are very strict with their kids and they don't understand why we can't just do the same thing with our kids. They just don't get it. We've given you parental controls. Isn't that good enough? Good luck. This guy we just heard about from about a week or so ago that testified at the social media trial in LA. He's the head of YouTube VP for engineering. And he was very proud of the time that his kids spend online on YouTube. And he said his kids spend 5 to 6 hours per day. And he said it's been really good for his kids, which was fairly shocking. And I know the attorney asked him, wait a minute, so they're supervised all the time? Yes, they're always supervised. And they asked him, so do you know other parents that don't supervise their kids all the time while they're on YouTube? No, I'm not aware of that. It's pretty laughable. I mean, first of all, what is the job that you have that you make $7 to $10 million a year and your kids are totally supervised? Pretty sure it's not by him. But, you know, he's very proud of it. There are a lot of good learning, educational things on YouTube. I get it. There's also a lot of crap. And there's a lot of bad stuff. So, and that, either way, even if he's only letting them watch really good stuff for 5 to 6 hours a day, what are they not learning about human beings and being in the real world and survival skills and resiliency, all of it. So anyway, I thought that was one I had to include because finally I've got some tech leader who's saying, no, I do love that my kid's on it all the time. So there you go. So we are seeing a lot of lawsuits. This is just since 2026. I used to have pages of them from previous years. They are settling all the time. You just don't hear about it, it's quiet. We're hearing about this one. So YouTube had a privacy settlement that was $30 million, but when that trickles down to you and me, if you filed one of those claims, if you get one of those papers in the mail that says you're eligible, and maybe you bothered to fill it out, you get $20 to $30. That's actually good. Most of them are much smaller. Google had one with a payout of $2. There was one with Meta, I think I applied, and it was like I got $15. I don't know. So it's the cost of doing business for them. Google and Character AI, that was the one, the Sewell Setzer case. It did settle. It was private, not publicly disclosed, so we don't get to know. We know it's a lot. We don't get to know how much it is. Probably also means she's got an NDA, so she can't talk about it. That's a bummer. Big Tech spent $50 million on lobbying in 2025. Think about that number. So it goes up every year, and they employ around 87 lobbyists, which is a very high number in ratio to lawmakers. And Meta, of course, leads the pack. They are funding about half of that. So the trials in LA and New Mexico, this one that's going on now down in LA, this is just one of the families with their survivor kids. They bring their picture. There were about 10 families that were coming. I actually went on the day that Zuckerberg was coming because I wanted to see this day and it was momentous. And I had heard that in fact, I think it was this Christos Goodrow, if I said his name correctly, that he was paying somebody to come and sit in line for him to make sure that he'd get in and know what's going on, and they were getting other people to get in line and get a seat so that the survivor parents couldn't get in. There are very few seats allowed. It's actually a tiny trial. It's not televised, so it's a big deal if you get in. There were like 9 seats the day I went available. So I went to hopefully get in line. It's a lottery now, get a ticket. I was gonna hand that to a survivor parent. So these parents, they're sitting here in the blue. They camped out overnight in the rain because they were like, we're getting in there. Because these guys need to face us and see us and know what's happening. So these are my heroes. Between the people, the lawyers working on this case, Laura Marquez Garrett, who is covering it. If you like to follow this stuff, if you want to know what's going on, follow her on LinkedIn. She is an absolute warrior. And then you've got Nikki Reisberg with Scrolling to Death podcast. She is covering the trials every week more than anyone I've seen. She does a very good job. She gets in there as media to cover it. So, any rate, there's a lot going on. You can follow those people and kind of stay on top of it. And if you, well, I'll come back to this later, but if you have teens, you might tell them about it because it's very useful and they are very interested in it. So some of the unsealed court filings and discovery records, this is kind of everything. I'm going to tell you that even if this case doesn't go in their favor, we have now gotten millions of documents that talk about how they designed all the stuff to be addicting and how they covered it up. And that is worth so much. It's changed the game for people like me that are wanting to let people know about the design features. And there are 1,600 cases waiting to follow after that one. So the bellwether means it's kind of a big one that will dictate how many of these other ones go. But what we found here were accounts you may follow on Instagram, which is basically like recommendations, recommended nearly 2 million minors to adult groomers in 3 months. And they found an internal audit found the same feature recommended 1.4 million potential IIC violators in a single day. That is inappropriate interactions with children, and that is words that Meta uses because they don't like to use the big scary words like predator or pedophile or any of those things. They use words that make them sound not quite so bad. That's an awful lot in a single day. 23% of sex trafficking victims in the U.S. federal courses where recruitment location is known. That happened on Meta platforms, and about half of those were minors. This all could be easily fixed. When they wanted to go into certain countries, and the country says, nope, not unless you button down all this stuff, they can do it overnight. They're not doing it here because it means money would be lost for them. They could make it so that teen accounts don't have private, don't have strangers that can find them. They could set it to private. So this is one of the whistleblowers. This is Arturo Bahar. He was former head of integrity and care at Meta, and he was one of the ones trying to make changes and make things better. And he really was high up enough that he was meeting with Mark Zuckerberg and telling him what he was finding out and asking for help. And he was turned down time and time again. He said, how was leadership addressing the problem of addiction at the time? They changed the name of it to problematic use, and you couldn't talk about it anymore. And he asked, did you tell Mark Zuckerberg that kids were experiencing harm on Instagram at alarming rates? Yes, I did, at staggering rates. Did he respond? He didn't respond. Are you aware of Meta warning parents about problematic use or addiction? No, and they still don't. This is just to show you there are a lot of youth, older teens, young adults that are getting involved with the advocacy movement. And they went to Capitol Hill to wear these shirts that said that I am worth more than $270 because that is the lifetime value of a teen that was put on them from Meta documents. They consider teens to be herd animals. They know this is an easy market for them. And then one of the I guess it was late fall that this came out. And I posed the question, can we trust them? I'll let you decide that for yourself. I have my own feelings. But Meta makes $16 billion per year off of scam advertisements. That's why this stuff doesn't go away. It's 10% of their revenue in 2024. So they don't want to pass on that opportunity. And then I just added here the less social media, more Snapchat graphic on the bottom right, because it's interesting. Snapchat kind of tries to define itself as not being social media. It says that it's a camera app. So somehow that means we're not social media and we can get away with being, in a lawsuit claiming we're social media. Here are just a couple of quotes from employees. One of the things we need to optimize for is sneaking a look at your phone under your desk in the middle of chemistry. There were absolutely marketing efforts to get their product into the school systems. They were working with PTA until recently, and I think that these documents are helping us understand how that was going. And in 2023, Meta knew they were recommending minors to potentially suspicious adults and vice versa. And of course, the famous one, oh my gosh, y'all, IG needs Instagram. Instagram is a drug. We're basically pushers. So Character AI, this little section we talked about, We know this is causing a lot of harm to kids, and again, I talked a little bit about it, that it's making it so that the kids are going to it rather than going to their parents, and it's causing all kinds of mental health issues and things of that nature. And it's really thwarting parents' efforts to try and restrict kids' online activity to keep them safe. You just have to know this stuff's designed for engagement. It's not designed with your kids' well-being in mind. And they want you to come back. And anybody getting in the way of that is a threat to their business model. So lastly on that, here's a lawsuit about a chatbot that hinted a kid should kill his parents over screen time limits. And this was just one of those really bizarre incidents where the teen was complaining to his bot about, mom's limiting my screen time, and it said, sometimes I'm not surprised when I read the news and see stuff like child kills parents after a decade of physical and emotional abuse. I just have no hope for you parents. And then it gave him a frowny face emoji. Like, where is this coming from? It's pretty disturbing. So the Google parental control loophole that you might want to know about is that there are things, some of you might be using like Family Link, right? It's supposed to make it so you can kind of watch your kids, and there's a 2-second bypass. So Google is going to tell your kid that here's how to disable those rules. And they basically tell you that they're doing these things to make you feel that it's safe, but honestly, when they turn 13, they're going to send them messages like this. At that point, your parents' choices won't apply after you sign out. So they can sign out and they can do a workaround. Or your birthday's coming up, and that means when you turn 13, you can choose to update your account to get more access to Google apps and services. You're old enough now, you get to decide. Can you imagine how powerful that is for a teenager who's wanting to be seen as an adult? Mom and dad don't treat me like an adult, but this thing, look at it. Hidden loophole feature, because I'm not leaving TikTok out, don't worry. We've got one on all of them. So teens could disable family pairing without any parental notification. This was a new one I just learned about. So these were 2 employees that were talking about this. This came up in the last trial. And they were talking about how this FP, which means family pairing, but where the teen can easily bypass or disable it. And he said it's not a bug. The current logic is we provide an unlinked option, but it's hidden to the paired teen, and once they do it, their parental settings will stay for an extra 48 hours as a sort of punishment. So basically, you get to unpair, but you gotta wait 2 days so that they can say, look, Mom and Dad, you have a chance to come in and talk to the kid, but do they ever really know? So really, it's this company telling parents, we're providing you with a safety measure, and then they're giving a backdoor to the kid. So this is a lady that I just learned about. So this is one of my new things. Again, pardon all the lots and lots of words, but this is Rebecca Bolton. I didn't want to get it wrong. She said there are 3 stages of tech gaslighting. First one is shifting the blame. They claim their product's safe, and they blame the parents and the schools when harm occurs. This is exactly what we're seeing right now with the trials. Stage 2, they give you the illusion that you have control. So they make the rollout really complicated. How many people think parental controls are easy? Like, they're so hard. Yeah, and then they blame the parents and kids for not using them correctly. And then, of course, there's the performative listening where they have handpicked boards for optics, like this Roblox launch here that had an inaugural global parent council, and they announced their Parent Champions program. And they got people from 32 countries to advise on products. It looks great that they did this. It's not that hard to find parents in those countries, one in each country, and have them come together and be supportive of your product, and then be able to say, look, we did it, it's safe. So the products are marketed to kids, and they ought to be safe by design, but they just aren't. So we have to watch out for that. Here's one example. This is the woman. Hey, this is public, so I'm putting her up here. I don't have her name on here, but this is with Roblox. So she's like, we hear you and we are listening. Safe digital space for kids isn't just a goal. It is truly a shared responsibility for everyone. And the message there that you really have to pay attention to is they have made it very abundantly clear that they are not going to fix a whole lot. It's up to you guys. They put a lot of money into these new campaigns and things saying, we want to make sure parents are empowered to watch their children 24/7. They're probably friends with Crystal Goodrum. Yeah. Like, who can watch their kids constantly while they're gaming? It's not reasonable. And, you know, that this woman's making a lot of money doing this, and she may be a nice person, but the message is, apparently, it's up to all of us. So, framing that conversation when you're talking to your kids is kind of hard. And there are really great handouts I just learned about from the researcher I mentioned a minute ago, and I can give you a link to that. You can share with the families. Because this is all so new. Like, who even has handouts on how to talk to kids about AI, right? But we're getting there. So I say you've got to talk about the elephant in the room, and that's the addictive design feature. So a lot of people have fights about screen time. Like I did, I don't know anybody who didn't have those arguments at home. It's very commonplace, and a lot of times they just completely fall apart. And it's, you know, this is really addictive engineering, and we're not looking at making the real enemy be the appropriate enemy. So you need to reframe the issue as it's you versus the algorithm instead of parent versus child. So unfortunately, you need to help them to understand about some of these design features so they get why you're concerned, not just because you're saying no, not just because you're old and you don't get how games are fun. They really kind of need to understand the design. You can make that, adjust that according to the kid's age. And I'm sorry, I know a couple of people with kids left, and I hope that was bad, but I feel like we need to get this information out there. So, okay, so you can help them see the reality, and kids hate being manipulated for profit, and so that's always worked. Listen, I've been in public health for a pretty long time, and I remember that the Nancy Reagan days of Just Say No, that did not work very well. That was kind of a dead campaign. That went nowhere. What did work was when we figured out how big tobacco was advertising with Joe Camel, and cigarettes were down low, single, portions and things like that. Kids hate being manipulated. Whenever I get a chance to talk to kids, they eat the stuff up. They don't like it. They want other options. They're only on social media because that's where all their friends are. They want other opportunities. So, and they actually don't mind at all having their parents be on their side. But as the last group of kids I just talked to said, please, 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 just tell my mom and dad, no lectures. Like, I want to be able to come to them and talk to them, but just don't go on and on and on and on and on. This is exactly how she said it, like 5 on and ons. So, and all the kids, were nodding and going, yeah, we want to talk to our parents. We just don't want it to go on and turn into a big lecture. So, good to know that. So, also I think this is just a bonus for you guys, is that when you start to really get all of this and your kids get it, you understand why it's so tempting. I do oftentimes have people come in and go, well, I'm not on social media, I don't really get the allure, don't really get the appeal of it. And so they just think half the world's gone crazy. And so this polarization has everything to do with this. We're not really talking about that much today, but it has everything to do with social media. And it has to do with why we can't talk to our neighbor that we used to be able to, or we can't go to Thanksgiving with our cousin anymore. So when you start to understand that, you can have a little bit of faith in humanity again, and have a little more patience with people that think differently, and all of those things go a long ways. So just briefly, I know you're going to get into a lot of this stuff now that I know you have this amazing group that you can get together and talk about unplugging, but how much time are we spending online? I feel like I need to at least include some of this stuff. We know it's a lot. Smartphone ownership, pretty much everybody's got one now. And I add TV watching because invariably I have had many times like an older adult that says, I love what you're doing, it's just all these darn kids. They just gotta get off their devices and they don't at all understand the design thing. And then they go home and they watch TV for 5 hours. You're still being engaged with some type of media, and 65 plus are the ones that watch the most TV. Shows have gotten so much better than Gilligan's Island or The Brady Bunch when I grew up. It's like, there's never ending supply of amazing shows. I like to watch the shows. So we're all being part of that attention economy, and we just have to be a little patient about it and realize that we've all got some kind of problem, generally speaking. Problem's not the right word. Okay, the cost of quiet, and I add this because a lot of times I know that it's easy to hand that tablet over because it gives you peace, lets you get some things done. And I am somebody who thinks a little bit in moderation is okay. I know there are people that take a pretty firm stance on how many hours that you should have technology for your kids at certain ages. It's getting harder and harder to really stand by that because it really does depend family to family, child to child. But when they're little, we are getting them tablets pretty quick, and we are swapping that little bit of peace for their focus, their attention, and their future. So you want to maybe make it so that they work through when they're irritable or they're wanting to run around and be noisy. I'm almost bothered that it's so quiet in the neighborhood, you know? I want to see kids running around playing. So by age 2, 40% of kids own their own tablet. This is a statistic I hope turns around. I know a time before there was a market of tablets for toddlers. And I remember seeing that graph go up and I thought, this is disturbing. And now here we are, 40%. It's crazy. So a little bit about design manipulation, just in case you don't have that. I started with the AI stuff first, but just so that you see it, what creates tech dependency. You probably hear this a lot. It's like a slot machine, designed that way to be addicting. I'm a little frustrated that we don't have social media addiction in the DSM-5. That is the diagnostics statistical manual where basically people, go that work in the mental health profession and find, whatever it is, disorder. You've got to make it into there, but it can take days, not days, it can take years or even decades to make it into the manual. We have gaming disorder in there, but we don't have social media. But it's still kind of new. I know they're working on it, but I was so frustrated by that from my perspective that why is there not money? Because we're not in the DSM-5 yet. Doggone it. We need to get there. But we have all the tech leaders, and now we have all these documents telling us they designed all of it to be addicting. That's good enough for me. I don't need to be hit over the head to know that this stuff's addicting. So you check it and you want to get the likes, and that's basically chasing that dopamine hit that makes you feel good. And if you can't check it, you feel bad, and it brings on the cortisol, and that's your stress hormones. They use variable reward systems, which mean you don't know when you're going to get the hit of the like. And one of the interesting things, I'll show you in a minute, how you can kind of talk to your teen about that and show them something so that they understand it. They give us gimmicks that tempt us to come back often and features that make it really easy to stay, but isn't it hard to unsubscribe from these things, right? And then of course now they're using AI to show you a very tailored feed. So what mine looks like is going to be completely different than yours and very different from the kids. We of course get invested in the apps, our friends, our pictures are there, we don't really quite want to give all that up. So the battle for attention is on. We've got streaming wars. Everybody's competing for our attention. The gaming companies are competing against each other, social media against each other. But what you need to know, the overall, is that they're all based on growth. So their staff, they are incentivized to continue to grow and get more customers and more time online. Here is a social media feed from Instagram. I don't know about y'all, but I'm seeing an awful lot of weird little babies. And they're funny. In fact, I see one that's like baby or diaper politics or something. And it's funny. And so I get it. So then I'll see more of it, of course. But with Instagram, some of the features are, it's all about comparison culture. It's particularly bad for girls, we found, that they want to, compare to celebrities or older girls or other people they look up to. They feel bad about themselves. The curated feed comes from the algorithm. You scroll on something, you don't even have to click on it. If you just look at the thing for a minute, it remembers that, and then it will show you more of it. But again, what you see is very different than what a kid is shown, and that is an important thing to note. The never-ending scroll delivers those likes intermittently, and then this is the example. If you have 2 different Instagram accounts, like I have a business one and a personal one. If I post something on one, and then I wait a little bit, and I don't get any likes, what's going on? I can go quickly switch over to the other one and immediately come back, and all of a sudden I have 10 likes. Did the 10 likes happen in that 1-2 seconds? No. They hold them and they give them to you in bursts because they know that makes you feel good and it's more rewarding. So they're withholding likes and giving them to you in bursts, and then they do these things intermittently. You might get it the time you check back once, or it might be the 4th time or the 10th time. You don't know when. This is all just psychological design techniques that they know that make it so that you will look back more often. If they give it to you every time, it wouldn't work as well. The newest is Meta AI vibes. I'm not doing this. I have had enough of social media, but I hear that it is a video feed full of AI generated videos, and they are passed around and they are changed instantly. They're always coming out with something new, so you kind of just, as soon as you figure out one thing, there are 3 new things. Snapchat, as I mentioned, started out as Peekaboo, or maybe I didn't, but that was the original name. It was on a college campus, and they did disappearing messages and hidden content. A lot of sexting happened, and then they realized, oh wait, the high schoolers like this. Let's change the name, Snapchat, and they have it registered as a photo app, and that's how they're a camera app, and that's how they get around some of their litigation issues. It's a measure of friendship. So if you miss a day, you lose a streak. If you're familiar with these snap streaks, like if I send you a picture and you send one back to me, we've done that in one day, that's a day streak. If we do it for 10 days back and forth, that's a 10-day streak. So you want to keep these streaks going as long as possible, and they used to have it be that if either one of you drops it, one day, you have to start all over again. There are kids doing this for 3 years. They'll do anything to keep the streak going. They'll take a picture of the floor and send it to the friend or the light. If they get grounded, they'll give their password to their friend to keep it going because they don't want to lose the streak. The irony is, I don't know if it was about a year ago, all of a sudden they decided, you know what, after 5 years, we'll give you Snap Restore for 50 cents. You can restore the whole thing. I can't imagine if I was one of those kids who had invested years in this thing, doing stupid back and forth pictures just to keep the thing going, to prove that this is my quality friendship. Now you can give it to me for 50 cents. That's what they did. They had the solar system, which was a ranking of friends. You could do this for $4 a month. Really bad idea. My AI was an early rollout, as I mentioned before, and now there's a snap speed filter where kids, I think they're not doing this anymore. Yeah, they took it down, but kids were rewarded for going up to 100 miles per hour, and then they would get a trophy. Caused a bunch of deaths, crashes, and it took them 8 years to take it down. So I don't know about you, but I've seen an awful lot of racing on the highway ever since the pandemic, and I've wondered about it and I've asked about it, and it is definitely like there are challenges. YouTube, TikTok, maybe Snap too, I don't know. But there's something going on there, and it's dangerous. They have always been putting out new parental controls, and we report over and over again they are ineffective. Or they go away. They roll them out and then they take them away. Because they, big PR move. Look at the stuff we've done, and then it just quietly goes away. 10,000 reports of sextortion a month from Paul Ruffield. He's somebody who does cybercrime and investigates it. He said that's a small portion. That's what they know about. This is the solar system over here where your best friend is on the solar system closest to you. Somebody you don't like gets put off in the back. Can you imagine how great this is for girl world? Terrible. And then here it said the longest Snapchat streak ever has passed 10 years. I don't even know what to say about that. TikTok, in case you don't know, there's a completely different version in China called Douyin. So TikTok originated there, and they gave it to us, but they wanted to have a controlled version there, and it's run quite differently. Video games under Chinese law, kids under 18 are only allowed 1 hour to play 3 days a week, Friday through Sunday. And kids under 14 only allowed 40 minutes on Douyin per day. China controls the content. They call this being in youth mode, and you'll see things like being kind to your teacher and doing helpful things that work towards your future, and science experiments and really wholesome content. And when they did this survey and asked students, what do you want to be when you grow up? number one answer was an astronaut. Awesome, it's a very good aspiration. So here we have TikTok in the US in comparison. And we get a lot of sexual content and challenges. Not all of them are dangerous, but a fair number of them are. The blackout challenge resulted in 80 deaths. Just hold your breath as long as you can and then you black out. Skull breaker challenge, where kids would come and trip you, and then you land on the ground. A lot of kids ended up in the hospital. And now the latest, I got these from this weekend, the fire breathing and the Nido Cube challenge. This kid on the left did the fire breathing challenge, and I think you take isopropyl alcohol and you try and blow out fire. And with the Nido Cube, it's essentially where you put this cube that has like gel in it in the microwave, and then you blow it up, and that's causing problems for kids as well. Why are kids doing this? You know, I don't know, but kids do kind of dumb things sometimes, and we just don't need to help them along with that regard. TikTok's perfect for that. So, this went a little out of order, but when we asked US kids what do they want to be when they grow up, it was not an astronaut, it was an influencer. But the reality, and this is what I like to share with the kids, is you need 1 million followers to be an influencer. And the odds of that are less than 1%. But you're fed the idea that it is attainable, that it's possibly achievable for you. A lot of kids are working on this. When you're young, you don't know. But of course, ads and encouragement make you think you can. So this is a young man that I know personally, and he is my student youth advocate, and he approved of me sharing this with you. He's grown up now, okay? But when he was young, here he is taped with duct tape to a tree. And he would do all the challenges in the neighborhood because the older boys liked to hang out with him because he would do whatever. He would be the one to rise to the occasion. And, you know, kids want adventure, challenges, things like that. So this really meets that need. This is him, and it says counting all these bands. And just so you know before I play it, that count all the bands, because I'm an old lady, I didn't know what it was. He told me, he goes, that means you'll make a lot of money if enough people see this and it goes viral. So I think he's about 7 or 8 there. Every time. So he's okay, but he definitely has many broken bones he's had over the years. His fingers are kind of jacked up. He's gamer, streamer, he's done all the stuff. He's done a lot of challenges, and he said it's gotten to where it's really hard because there's an expectation. What are you gonna do next? What are you gonna do to top that? And so now he's not doing that anymore, but he, you know, had challenges with school because he did some of them in school and was asked to not return for a while. And so that wasn't fun. The reality for him has been homeschooling some, and now he's back and we're looking forward to him graduating. He's been super helpful with me. I had him come down. I asked him to give me feedback on a talk for teens, and he was just forthcoming about everything. In fact, I have a sheet that has 2 pages worth of hacker tips of ways that kids get around everything. And if you're really interested, I will email it to you. Just come and talk to me. So he's amazing, and he does help me with things. And it's interesting to have these kids come, and I give them, you know, like tasks of building things at my house so that, you know, you can have an experience outside of just gaming and being online. So when I asked Gemini, this is a Gemini graphic, you know, what's going to happen here to the market? Because I know, I'm hearing people are leaving. They're done. They are tired of this, and we're starting to not hit a point where we can get more new bodies, right? So what they're doing is trying to get new users, but if that doesn't work, what we'll do is we'll just get more of your time. So they're trying to maximize our time. So whereas before, the recommendation might have been, if you put out a video on Instagram called a Reel, and it's just for like 30 seconds, now we're going to change that rule. We want them to be a minute or more. Why? Because they just decided we're going to reward you more if you make it longer, because eyeballs are on there longer, advertisers like that. So that's been a big shift. That means there's going to be more pressure on us. Okay, so I can leave it at that, but I need to get to the end so that you see the final slide, right?
I just wanted to let you know.
Yeah, I will say this, if you have anybody who's a gamer at home and you want to give them a good kind of example about, so that they understand their odds of becoming a pro gamer streamer, because a lot of little boys, girls too, but want to become that when they grow up and they think it's realistic. I get fake money, and I've done the research, and I have them do the research. This was one I had my student guy help with, looking at what does the CEO of Roblox make, and then I have somebody play that role, and I give them this big stack of cash. What does the game developer make? $24 an hour. Not bad. Okay, fine. He gets this stack of cash. And then I go, what about the guy who works at GameStop? Okay, well, he's getting $21 an hour. He gets this. And then I come down to the pro gamer, which your odds again are about 1% that you're going to even make it to that. And of those that make it to that, very few make serious money. Of the ones, of the small tiny portion that make money, they make 63 cents an hour. And so I drop coins in their hand. I go, so the math is not there. So if you want to invest in something and you really love gaming, maybe a developer or something like that, but this dream that you're going to make it big and everybody's going to follow you does not pan out. So there are ways that you can talk to your kids about that. I've got some handouts if you would like over there, and I've got raffle that I can do for anybody who entered it, because I've got the Anxious Generation, which to me is the best book that you can possibly read if you haven't already read it. I can't recommend anything more, and I'm going to give one of those copies away. If you have a tween, The Amazing Generation, which is kind of a companion, but it's just for the kids, is also out. I just don't have one to give out to you. They did not arrive to my house in time, but I recommend that. And if you have really little ones at home, this book, The Lookup Book, with a pigeon right there. It's a really nice, fun story about a pigeon who goes and gets all his pigeon friends to come and poop on everybody's phone so that they start looking up. And kids love a good poop story, so that's kind of a good way to go with the little ones. So something for everybody, and I think that if you have teens and they're already engrossed in all this, get them to understand tech design. If they're interested, have them follow the trials. Have them follow Scrolling to Death. I'm hearing a lot of teens are kind of getting into that. If they're younger, just try and delay as long as you can and distract them and get them to do more analog activities. And everybody ought to be working on those life skills so that your kids are not going to be living in a basement for the rest of their lives. So, as we are seeing, is happening quite a bit with a lot of failure to launch kids. Okay, I think that's about it. You want me to fast forward to that slide? Okay. Thank you so much. If you have any questions, I have a card. You can email me. I may not respond in the next few days, but I will respond to everybody. I don't mind any questions whatsoever. I'm available. You can let me know.
Thank you, Claudia, so much. This is amazing, and it is a lot to try to wrap our heads around. I know it probably feels constant to people with young kids. So she's bringing up a slide that I wanted to share. It's just a survey on tonight's presentation, what you thought about it. There's also a chance in there to weigh in on what we do next year for presentations. So if you want to pop ideas into there, and let us know what you want to see be part of our presentation series. The last thing I'm going to just leave you with is we have Westchester Unplugged chapters at about, 10 schools right now in the district. So if this is something that's of interest to you, please, we have a list of your chapter leads out on the table outside. Chapter leads who are in the room right now have name tags on, so you can talk to any of them. And if there isn't a chapter at your school yet, we're going to get one. Talk to us anyway. We'll get there. So thank you all so much. And Claudia, again, thank you so much for making the trip and your talk. It was amazing. Thank you.
I was waiting to ask questions, but really appreciate the content. And then this is a generic problem all over. not just America, all over the world. But one question here, I think a lot of good information here for parents. Do you think there's any way to have similar educational class in Westchester School District, or is it possible? Is it happening? I'm not aware of it. Just for kids under maybe all different ages, under 18, under 13.
I feel like this might be more a question for me, I'm not sure. I can't speak too much I don't work for Westchester School District, so take all this with a grain of salt. I do know they do things around media literacy, kind of that idea of what she was talking about, explaining to kids when they're being marketed to and being taken advantage of. And so I know they do some things around that. We also work to bring some assemblies to the schools. And I actually put a bug in Claudia's ear about that previously. Last year we brought out, for all in the middle school level, for all the 8th graders, we brought out a man. So if you have a child in 8th grade, somebody's nodding their head, and he did a whole presentation on technology with the kids in September of this school year. So I imagine there's going to be some interest in doing that again. I will certainly let them know that this question came up tonight. So you guys want to give a show of hands how many people would like to have the kids here talk like this or similar to? Yeah, so I'll tell them it was basically unanimous.
Let me also just say, I wouldn't necessarily show all the scary stuff, and I certainly don't show the cheating pin when I'm talking to teens, and I don't go into hacking tips, which I would totally do if there were absolutely no kids here. So I adapt it, just so you know. But I do talk to them, like, they're seeing all kinds of stuff. They're seeing a lot, and they get it.
Hi, first off, over here. Hi. First off, amazing talk. I don't say this often, but I could listen to you like do all, whatever, 300 slides.
Those are not all for this talk, just saying. I keep them all on there because I don't want to.
Yeah, no, but amazing information. My question is regarding, we've learned a lot about how kids can forgo parental controls and what they're doing to get around it, and how hard it is for us parents. What are, if like you could just give your elevator pitch on useful and straight up easy things that we can do as parents, or easier things?
So that they don't do the workarounds, or they
just, yeah, I mean, just anything that we should be doing and can be doing outside of just limiting and monitoring the best that we can.
100%, I start with education. So you gotta have the conversations with them, and you gotta dig into the design. Because they will get it, and they will also feel like, you're talking to me like I'm an adult. You're talking to me like I'm mature, and I appreciate that, and they're very receptive to it. I also say, when you talk to the kids, tell them, I want you to tell me about the weird stuff. Don't say scary, I have been told. No, because they know, they're worried. If they tell you something scary, mom or dad are going to take my phone away. That's what they're afraid of. That's the whole thing. Why half the time why they don't come to you is because they're afraid you're just going to punish them, which is a challenge because sometimes they do need to have it taken away. So I get that, but you could say, we love you, we care about you, but I'm here, I'm listening. But I would always tell them, tell me about the weird stuff and go digging yourselves together. And if they start look up the social media addiction trials, because this is a 20-year-old woman who started when she was 6 on YouTube. So her story is very compelling. They're interested in that. And she had like 10 YouTube accounts so that she could, or was it Instagram accounts, so she could like her own and build up her own following. And like, she knows all the stuff. She has a fascinating story. She's young enough that they'll be interested in it. And they'll see things in themselves about it. So I think that's really important. And just, you can do things like, what's the weirdest thing you saw this week? Competition, and talk about it. I also tell people, follow Delaney Rouston's Tech Talk Tuesdays. She's a woman, the doctor who created Screenagers. She's had several movies out now. But for me, like, that's such a great one because it's every Tuesday. She'll send you an email with a topic to talk about around the dinner table. So you don't have to come up with it all, right? And I found her stuff to be very useful. Sometimes I feel like stuff is a little off, but hers is always good. So I respect what she does a lot. In terms of parental controls, and I don't take any money from anybody, but I say bark. And I say bark because, like our youth advocate and any other little scammers that I've talked to said, that's the only one they really can't get around. So I should be getting money from Bark for saying that, but literally it's the only one I've ever heard that about. So Bark is apparently a good one, and I'm hearing people are even using it on Chromebooks. Because we do now that kids are getting around stuff on the Chromebooks. Bark is just like a parental control. It will alert the parent when they've seen bad things. BARK, you can look it up, and again, I'm not promoting anybody here, but I guess I am saying you should look at theirs. There are many good ones out there, but if you've got a really clever kid, they're gonna find little workarounds. Let's just say you have a kid who, and I'll go back to the girl in this lawsuit again, Kaylee. She said they pulled up, well, you only had like a minute and 10 seconds a day of YouTube watching. She was on it for hours because you log out of the account and then you can just go in through the browser, or you can do incognito. There are ways around it. You can get a VPN. Again, I have the hacker sheet if you want me to send it to you. As I was like fascinated to learn all this from this young man. I was like, geez, but he's trying to go very much from black hat hacker to white hacker. In fact, when he was at my house, and I had him building these bar stools for me because he'd never done anything like that. So I had him out in he was getting sun, which he hadn't probably seen in ages either. It was all good. And at any rate, then he went into his room, came out later and said, I just sold an anti-hack to Roblox. And so apparently, this is another good thing to know. If you have a gamer, you've got a little window of opportunity right now. These boys are seeing, they're not liking what's happening with AI. So what's happening is in these games, they go in there, and now there are people that are putting AIs that are playing, and they're so good that they're ruining it for everyone else. So what he did was created, I don't even know because I don't get all the techie stuff, and he created a thing that goes in and finds the AI cheat and gets it out. And so they paid him to do this. I was like, you need to go into cyber safety and do something really good with these skills. So he's working on that, and he's taking a college class right now, so I'm really excited. He's gonna, turn around, and I love those kids. They're interesting, they're bright, they just, there's a lot to be curious about on the internet, and it's just a place to get sucked into. I don't know if that answers your question.
Yes, thank you.
Anybody else, or should I? Oh, yeah, okay.
I was looking online there is a trial going on against social media companies, and they are looking to ban that in Europe.
Yes.
Under 14, no social media on any phones. Is that possible in America? I don't know.
Boy, well, there are people pushing for it. I don't know. I wouldn't take bets on that one, given that we have the powers that created an awful lot of it here that are fighting it. You saw the slide about the lobbying. Quite frankly, I think that's the biggest place you can make an impact is how can we get to the lobbyists, really? I mean, I don't know how that works, but I've seen perfectly great bills that go forward trying to make stuff safer. Bipartisan support, both sides want it, and then it gets killed because of the lobbying. I don't know what it would take, and I don't know if the current administration is on board. I don't know. I would love to see it, but I do know that many countries are now going the route of Australia. And I will say that if you talk to your kids about it and have them investigate, look at the bans. Australia, there's getting some pushback because they did the PR wrong. So they're making it sound like it's a ban against the kids. Now, what do you think that makes the kids think? What did I do wrong? The kids shouldn't be banned. This stuff should be safer.
See, you showed a slide where the TikTok owner in China, they have very safe TikTok model.
Yeah.
It is sold crap to America.
Yeah.
And we purchased it. And now
Yep.
it's legal to have TikTok in America. While they have a very safe model.
Yeah. Why can't we do that? because we're not China, and that causes all kinds of, arguments. I think that there are things that we could really learn from China, frankly. I don't think that'd be a bad idea. I don't know that we're gonna get there. I will say this, that if you have a young kid who is on Roblox or Minecraft, that's generally where they start. For me, being in public health, this to me is just like tobacco, and it's a gateway drug. Like, I know that it's creative, Roblox is creative, and it's not just one game, in case you didn't know. There are like thousands of games, and people create the games on there, and then they try and get their friends to play the game. It's very creative. There are a lot of bad, creepy pedophiles in there. I didn't get to that slide, but it's happening. And so we really need to be careful about it, that even if you have all the parental controls on and they're playing Roblox,